Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Live in the Know. It is actually a continuation of episode 1. We are excited to continue our conversations with Amy Weil and Yitz Magence. They've been extraordinarily helpful, answering a ton of questions, and we have a bunch more questions for them that they are going to be answering. So hopefully this will answer all of your questions, but please reach out, because all we want to do is make sure that you know what's going on and keep you updated so that you too can live in the know. All of us work in all different areas, all different towns, all different counties. Amy, are you seeing any differences between the towns, cities, counties, or is everyone kind of following the same approach?
As far as the counties go right now, they seem to be pretty similar. We're seeing a little bit of difference at the registries as to what they will and won't do. You know, little stuff like, can you hand deliver documents? Can you mail them in? Things like that. Nothing that's really causing huge. When it comes to cities and towns, we're seeing some differences on the, what offices are doing as far as water readings, smokes, and inspections for new construction. So we are seeing some differences, but we're just staying in touch with those towns. We're just like Yitz's office, we'll go anywhere in the state of Massachusetts, so we're all over the place. And the brokers have been really, really helpful to us in understanding what's going on in their cities that they really focus on. So I've actually relied a lot on the real estate brokers to help me keep in touch with that town. So if I have a deal in Wellesley, the brokers, will know what's going on usually before I do. And then if I have a deal in Somerville where I may not do as much, the broker there seems to really have their finger on the pulse and be able to bring me up to speed pretty quickly. So we found the brokers are our best resource when it comes to the cities and towns. And again, right now, the counties are pretty similar, not anything materially different.
So I want to shift gears just a little bit and probably briefly touch on this, but we're talking about everything with buying and selling a house and getting to the closing table. There is also a closing procedure for refinances. And while we as real estate agents are not necessarily always involved in that, you guys are. Right. Any differences, anything worth touching upon in that regard?
Just as you're saying, you want to spend a little bit of time, there really isn't much time. That's certainly business as usual. The only difference is, as we talked about logistically, are you going to have them sign in the parking lot? You're going to have them sign behind the window? You're going to have them sign in your office with precautions? Will this remote notary, online notarization come down the pike? That's the only difference. And as we all touched upon earlier, the only, I would assume, unknown, situation would be the appraisal. As Amy pointed out, right now, things are going as planned. I know there's some lenders, in fact, there's going to be a webinar tomorrow. One of our lenders is putting on their goal. Now, it's not going to be for Massachusetts, they're a national lender, but their goal is to have no human contact for any closing, including the appraisal. I'm curious how they're going to do that, but I do also know the secondary market, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, is loosening up their guidelines in terms of lenders allowing for drive-by appraisals on some circumstances. So for the most part, people should be taking advantage of the lower rates. I know they popped up last week. I understand that they went down a little. Lawyers, and maybe Amy will disagree with me, I'm the last person to ask about what the rates are, because if I knew what the rates were doing, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be a day trader making a lot of money and from my computer in the Bahamas.
That's right. We don't know what the rates are on a day-to-day basis, but we do, hear from our lenders. I will say the only thing that we've done a little different is in communication with our partners, our loan officers, is just asking them, and it sounds like they've been able to accommodate longer locks. So where it used to be they would lock an interest rate for 45 to 60 days, we're now seeing 75-day locks. And so what we're hoping is when it comes time to close on these refinances, we'll be beyond this and be able to, I don't know that we'll ever get really beyond this, but we'll be beyond it to the point where maybe, we can make it a little bit easier for people to sign these documents. So again, we're asking our lenders to try, if they can, to lock the rates out a little bit further. You know, my biggest concern right now is we're staggering our workforce. So we're trying not to have any more than 2 or 3 people in the office at any time, with everybody else working from home. So that puts a lot of the paralegal load on myself and some of the other attorneys. And so if we can push the refis out a couple of weeks even, I think it'll make a huge difference. And knowing that we have more time on the back end with these new loans that are getting locked, will take some of the pressure off, because we want everyone to get the rates. Like it says, if I were to refinance, it just means more work for me. So it probably means I won't do it.
So you guys have been incredibly helpful, have given a lot of great information. We're going to kind of ask the general question first to you, Amy. You know, do you have any additional advice, you know, for our buyers and sellers and our listeners?
The best pieces of advice I have would probably be stay calm. I think, yes, you can probably add on to this, but I think in the kind of work that we do as real estate attorneys, we probably spend maybe, it's like an 80-20 rule, 80% of the time as psychologists and 20% of the time on the legal work.
Right.
And that was true even before this. So maybe it's like 95-5 now. You know, just really urging my clients to stay calm. I'm trying to talk to all of them. I'm trying to get to all of them. I'm trying to be the calm voice that they need to hear, and, you know, be confident in what we're telling them, but at the same time, making them understand this is fluid. You know, like I said, on the smoke detector order, one day it was one way and the next day it was the next. So we're really, you know, calm, patience, and communicate. Those are really the things that need to happen right now. And continuing to work with all our partners, whether that's the real estate brokers, whether that's the lenders or the other attorneys. It's super important. And I think, you know, my office and Yitz's office have had a long-standing relationship over, I don't know, 30 plus years. And that just pays back in so many ways when we're in a situation like this. And I've explained that to my clients, that, you know, our relationship with the other attorneys out there has made a huge difference. And the fact that over the years, you know, Gilmartin McGinsey, the firm, has always been respectful and amazing to work with. And because of that, when we're in a situation like this, you know, it just makes it so much easier on us and is really for our clients' benefit. So I think, you know, please stay calm. Please understand that we know what you're going through. We understand. We're trying to communicate. Give us a little bit more patience than you might, because, you know, getting back to everyone's a little bit harder. But we're here and we're working and we're closing. And for the most part, it's a little bit unusual, but it really is business as usual.
I can only say I'm inspired. That was wonderful, and right back at you, Amy.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I want to say, Amy, first of all, you hit on a couple of things. As real estate agents, we often feel like psychologists as well for our clients. So they're going to all of us, I think. But the relationships we find are really important in our field as well. So I want to shift that yet. What about the advice for other real estate agents or even lenders? What do you have for us?
Well, exactly. You should be doing, the realtor should be doing the same thing. Amy described what we're doing. But I would get into less detail. I've always mentioned to real estate agents, your primary job is to surround yourself with a team that you can trust. And that means a lawyer, an inspector, a lender, and rely on those individuals to deal with their particular component of the situation. You're the quarterback as the realtor, and just keep people calm and moving forward, just as Amy pointed out. As far as the lenders go, they're going to, in my mind, they need to get into a little more of the technical stuff with their clients. We touched upon a number of things, Amy and I. For instance, the smoke detector certificate. As Amy pointed out, lenders are being good about communicating that. They need to communicate that with their closing attorney and with the buyer, their borrower. I do think, again, as Amy pointed out, rate lock is huge. Lenders should communicate that, and buyers or borrowers on their refinance should be very, very aware of when their rate lock happens. You know, in fact, as Amy pointed out earlier about everybody in our community working together, the the clause that we're all working on together regarding this, as Amy called it, deals with actually rate lock extensions. Normally, it's a battle over who's going to pay for that rate lock, and depending on whose problem was why the closing's being delayed. Well, it's neither. So the proposed language that's being sent to all of us is basically calls for let the buyer and the seller split those. So, but the rate lock itself is important, and the gap coverage that both Amy and I mentioned, that we would be able to, in the worst scenario where the registry completely shuts down, no employees, what happens? We can still close even though we can't record under this gap coverage. The gap refers to the gap from the day that the registry closed down to the day you're actually able to put things on record. If there anything impacting the title occurs during that time, the insurance will cover that gap. So some lenders accept it, some lenders don't. I will be candid. Normally, I like to work with local banks, smaller banks. They're typically more flexible about various things in the underwriting process. Well, in this case, I still love working with them, but the dreaded big box lenders, ironically, are used to this gap coverage. It sounds very crazy and unique, but it's only unique to us in Massachusetts. A number of states routinely, for years, have had gap coverage for various reasons. Either they can't get things on record, or it happens to be in New York. I can't understand this, but they will actually go to record, but they can't do the update of the title exam because the registries are backed up. The gap coverage covers that. It also could be trouble getting things on record in New York, gap coverage. So gap coverage will not be new to a number of, certainly the national lenders, but that's the important thing for the lender to communicate with their buyer-borrower and with the closing attorney.
Well, I think that you guys have given us such great advice, and I think we all kind of feel the same way, that patience and teamwork and relationships, as well as just, listening to our clients and just helping them, move forward. But we really appreciate, you guys and everything you're doing and showing up to work every day and keeping the process going. It's incredibly helpful for everybody. Our last question for you is, I don't know if there's any conversations that you guys can share, in general, the discussions that you've had with clients and how you've resolved things, with everything going on right now. Amy, I don't know, we could start with you.
Sure. So, obviously attorney-client privilege, so no specific conversations, but certainly, reminding clients that, it will turn around. People are like, oh, am I buying at the peak? Should I not close because this house will never be worth that amount of money? We've been through these situations before. 2008 is a great example. Even on 9/11, clients who were supposed to close that day, walking away from a deposit on that day, it will come back. Rates are still amazing. These are still great cities and towns to live in. They always will be. So you just have to remember that, be patient. It's gonna come back. We're gonna get through this if we all work together, and try to be optimistic with them. And I'm really trying. And it's not to say that there are some days around 7:30 at night when I'm having that last conversation with a client that, it's hard. It's really hard to be optimistic and to pull yourself together and be like, okay. And but I really am optimistic. I've been here. I grew up around here, and I've seen, the market up and down. So I'm encouraging my clients to stay the course. I'm encouraging them to, if they haven't signed a PNS, to be smart about the provisions that we put in there. And Yitz and I, both have the same problem, that one minute we're talking as a buyer's attorney and the next minute we're talking as the seller's attorney. So the fact that these organizations such as the Real Estate Bar Association or other organizations are promulgating some language that we can use is helping us to better deal with that. So we have some fair language that we can say to the buyer and seller, look, this is fair. And so I don't have to argue for a buyer, at 10 o'clock in the morning and then argue in a different way at 10:30 for a seller. That would be ridiculous. So, these organizations are really helping us with that. But again, my conversations across the board are, if a client has already signed and is got to close, then we're going to close and it's business as usual. If they haven't signed, if this is the path they went down and this is the house they want, then let's get it done and let's protect you.
I actually will keep this concise because I agree and confirm everything Amy just said, period, except for one little thing. I'm sure she would be happy, and I know I would be happy, but I'm sure she would too, if her last conversation ended at 11:30. Other than that, I agree with everything.
Thanks, Yitz.
Well, first, I want to apologize. My door opened in the back. I think one of my kids just might have just snuck in here. But the joy of working from home. I want to ask you guys one quick non-real estate question. And what we were going to get to, we can't ask what we wanted to ask because I know you don't ever cook your own food. I was curious.
That is true.
I was curious what with this extra time at home, has there been anything creative? What's the most creative thing you've cooked or most fun thing you've cooked? But how about what's your go-to takeout right now?
Yeah,
what are you guys doing?
I could tell you what my go-to takeout is. I do have plenty of provisions at home, but I'm trying to support local businesses here. I feel for the small restaurant and how many people are going to be impacted. It weighs on me because I do avail myself of these places on an ongoing time. So I've been taking out. I've been eating at home. I have a feeling the one thing that's going to we are all going to have in common is I'm sure everybody's eating a lot of things that they wouldn't normally eat, a lot of chips and candy, and because you're home, you got nothing, takes away the anxiety. Who knows what it's feeding, but I just caution people, you can take a walk in the fresh air, stay away from people, but try to be optimistic, as Amy pointed out, and just go about the business.
I'm pretty fortunate. My husband's working at home right now, so he's been making sure that there's dinner when I get home, no matter what time that is. So that's been really nice. Anyone who knows me knows I am not a good cook. I have a little bit of attention issues, so I tend to burn everything I try. I'm not a good baker. I actually tried to bake some zucchini bread the other day, and it was disastrous. So it's not one of my better traits. We are also trying a lot of the local restaurants and the deli around the corner. They're doing a great job at curbside pickup. So really trying to support them like we have over the years. So trying to do our best for the community and support those businesses while they can. And the biggest thing that I am glad I have is my Peloton, because that has saved my life. So I can see friends on it and I can get my workouts in. And yesterday they added dance classes on Peloton. So, life is still good.
You lost me at Peloton. Or workout.
I'm with
Amy,
you.
I'll have to meet you on the Peloton.
Woohoo, Trace. You'll have to get me your leaderboard name. I'm on it every night. That's the one thing that I haven't given up during this craziness. It's really my mental health.
That's amazing. Well, I will tell you, my kids have made mention that one of the worst things about being home or stuck at home is that having to eat mom's cooking. So I can tell you that's certainly not my strength. I'm trying. We have been doing a bunch of takeout, but maybe I'll get better at it. But I am starting to cook almost every day now.
Wow, good.
Well, we've got a freezer full of basically meat and frozen pizzas. So one or the other is good for me. but I can't echo what you said strong enough. It's so important for supporting these local businesses because it's tough right now, especially a lot of these restaurants and other shops. So thank you guys for doing your part on that. And also, as Tracy said, thank you guys so much for joining us and for giving your insight. We really appreciate having the two of you so we can get, I know you guys have very similar perspectives, but it's great because really there's just so much confusion and there's so many questions out there, and to have two great resources like yourself is just invaluable. So thank you.
Glad to be here.
Happy to do it.
And just everyone stay safe.
You too. And I hope the rest of your day goes well, and hopefully it will end before 7:30.
That's right. All right, you guys, take care.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you both so
Bye-bye.
much. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Amy.